All right, you guys, it's that time. Welcome to the BNC podcast, guys, the first installment. I'm very excited about it. You excited?
Yeah, man, this is going to be really cool, man. We're going to get a lot of, like, business, creativity, or a lot of interesting people on the podcast, for sure.
Business and creativity podcast, guys. So we got to celebrate our first guest on the podcast, Abdul Adebayo, in the flesh.
Hey,
come on,
let's
guys.
go.
First, before we even do anything, we got to toast up.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, guys.
You didn't even give me a good ding.
I don't want to break your glass, man.
That's okay.
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Thank you for being here, brother. So,
Appreciate it.
before us, we have a real estate investor, several properties, working other jobs outside of that, really just hustling. Properties in multiple cities. I know I'm gonna leave stuff out, but I'm gonna give you a chance to kind of give us the background. But it means a lot for you being here, especially on our first episode. But really, where I see like the most value is like, as much as you can research something like nonstop, but it's way different when you talk to someone that's actually got some equity in the game. Like they've been through all these lumps. You can research all you want, but whatever you get into first, you're gonna have a learning curve. You're gonna have so many things that are setbacks. So talking to someone that's actually been there and done that, very valuable to us. So we appreciate you, brother.
Of course, thank you for having me on the show. I love talking about this stuff.
Oh, good.
We talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
I know. I've heard all about you, man.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. To talk about it and then to actually experience it, completely different. So yeah, I'm definitely, here to talk about my personal experience. And, these are my personal views. I am not a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form.
I'm taking all this advice straight to the bank. As soon as we leave here.
But yeah, everything I have to say is, things that I have come to learn on the way and things that I have just come to understand, going through the motions. And
what I found that was like super interesting is like there's a lot of average people out there, but it's like they're just not financially literate. He put me on financial literacy and just knowing like what's available to you. And there's plenty of people who can do what he does, buy property, make these like investments, which you would think are like not possible because like you have an average 9-to-5 job. No offense, we have the same job, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like he comes from a shit ton of money or
average in that way. I see what
average in that sense.
I was gonna say the average person doesn't have this type of knowledge.
Knowledge is one thing, but I'm talking.
Yeah. See, I got your back. Don't let him play you like that.
I know, but you know what I'm trying to get at. Like a majority of the population have those like 9-to-5 jobs, those salaried positions. It's like they're not making like crazy amounts of money, and a lot of these people don't come from a lot of money, so they don't think they're able to make these types of investments, get these types of assets under their name, especially so early on. You bought your first property when you were 22.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say. So the first property that I did invest in, it wasn't a, I personally bought that singular property. It was more of a, how do I say this? It was like through an investment group. Mm-hmm. So they own their own, or they have like a real estate company, and they wanted to buy a property in Chicago. And they were looking for investors. So at that point, I was 22, my first job in the industry, and I got a fat bonus. Taxes, took most of it, over half of it. But what I had left, I took 75% of that, and then I used that to invest into the property. So I think the lowest buy-in was $10,000, and I put in $15,000 on that property. It takes 5 years to vest. So with that property, what they did was they bought it, renovated it fully. I mean, it was at the height of the pandemic. So
what type of property is it, by the way? It's
it's a multi-unit kind of apartment complex. It's got about 6 units.
Where is it? Chicago?
In Chicago, downtown Chicago, in Rogers Park, I believe. I don't remember too well, but and. It was one of my friends that put me on that property, right? Because me and him, I just remember, when I first got into the industry and I was making decent money, and I was like, I'm making decent money, but taxes, most of it is a good chunk is going to taxes, and I'm not really like seeing like the rewards of it. Like, what am I doing wrong? So I started looking into different investment strategies myself, to stocks, real estate, and everything. So I kept talking to him about stocks and real estate, and then he was like, someone I know that I work under, he's putting together this investment group for this specific property. Do you want in on it? I was like, absolutely.
Got it.
Because, you know, I wasn't in a position to buy a property myself.
Yeah.
I was nowhere ready to be a landlord at the age of 22. So doing it with a friend that I trusted made it so much easier. I like lazy money is what I like to call it. I don't like to work too hard for my money.
Right.
Yeah, outside of my job, obviously, right? If I'm investing in a stock, like I like to do a lot of research and, you know, just kind of set it and forget
totally
about
passive.
it. So that's why I felt like real estate was, you know, important for me, because it's kind of lazy money, you know, so I put in the 15K, and he said that in about 5 years it will vest. You either pull out at that point with at least double what I put in, or you continue for as long as the group itself wanted to continue. And
who makes that decision though, whether the property gets sold after 5 years, right? Because in the contract it was said that certain renovations would be done over the span of 5 years,
right?
And they are supposed to come to a conclusion whether they sell and everybody basically cashes out and moves forward, or if they keep it. So who makes that decision?
So the property management group makes that decision. After 5 years, they're gonna look at the numbers again. So they're gonna reevaluate the property, or get the property value, and then they're gonna see how much they can profit off of either selling it, or if they profit more from keeping or holding on to the property. And based off of that, they'll give each individual person an option. Do you want to continue investing in this property? Where they'll be like, oh, you know, we're thinking about holding on to it for a couple more years, 5 or 10 more years. Do you want to stay invested, or do you want to, you know, cash out? So each individual person has a personal account within that property. So whatever percentage of what that property is worth at that point in time is what you get. So, sorry, let me rephrase. I put in a certain amount of, you know, what that property was bought for. So that amount is, or I get back the percentage of what
percentage
they make
increase of the overall property.
Yes.
That makes sense.
It's like your stake.
Exactly.
And so would that be the people, the management group basically pays you out that amount, and then basically it's like they're buying you your position within their management group. And a question on the group, were they already formed, or was it someone that was kind of more ground level pulling together enough funds to do this? Because that's what I was curious about when you first said you got involved with an investor group. I'm like, how did that get going?
That's a very good question. So this is where talking about your ideas with your friends is very, very important. Because if I wasn't talking about it with my friend, I would have never known that this was an investment style of real estate, and I would have never known that this was an opportunity available to me, right? So it was his pastor at his church that was talking about it. You know, he started his own real estate group. And he was working on it.
Hey, bro. Because you're the pastor. Who's not going to listen? You're like, yo.
But where are you getting his money from, though?
I mean, no,
20 people.
He's also, so the pastor is also like a financial guru, like a financial advisor. He works in finance. Right? So, you know, him being a pastor, that's just, you know, a part of his spiritual experience, right? So it was because, so long story short, everybody that invested into the property were friends or friends of friends.
Love it.
So people that they knew and they trusted. And that's why it's very important to talk to your friends about your interest. And especially, like, the easiest way to make money is to utilize your friends. Not use your friends.
So that's why we got you.
Utilize, right? Don't use your friends. Don't do that. You know. But it's to utilize your friends and their assets, right? So if you know someone, if you have a friend that's in real estate, talk to him about what he's doing. If you have a friend that's in finance, if you have a friend that's a financial advisor, why isn't he your financial advisor?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so not only is he helping you, is he helping you make money, you're also helping him make money.
Right.
You know, if you have a friend that's a real estate agent, hit him up. Be like, listen, I'm thinking about this property. Like, do you even want to come in on the property with me, right? So not only does your friend make money off the property being sold, he also makes money with you on, you know, everything that you make off of the property. You know, like, it's the easiest way to make money. And
that's kind of what we want to talk about anyways, most of the time. Everyone that's hustling like that, even if you're in a different lane, that's kind of what we want the conversation to be about. You know, it might not be even, you can learn from what someone else is doing, what their venture is. Then you're talking to a different guy, totally separate, and now you're like, oh, My buddy actually does that, and you can tell him exactly what your guy is getting into, and now you're able to bridge that gap.
Absolutely.
I could definitely see it.
But back to that investment group, right? You said the pastor was heading that group that you invested in, or was that just something that was working in parallel with?
So he put the deal together, right?
Okay.
And this is another way that like he made money.
Yeah.
So because he put the deal together and he outsourced the people, and he found the property, he outsourced the people.
Wow.
Even though it was through my friend, right? So he makes money he makes like a finder's fee.
Yeah.
And then whoever, I think he was also a real estate agent, he makes money off of, the closing costs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also makes money because he put that money into the investment.
Do you know what his stake was? Was it a fat stake, or was it this?
It was a pretty good chunk of
Oh,
stake.
So he probably put up the most.
Yeah.
How many people in total ended up being in the group?
I'm not sure. I think they wanted to keep it small, so I think it was about 20 people.
Okay, 20. Yeah.
And for something like that, the property has to be bought in cash, right? You couldn't like find a group of people to put a down payment and then take out a loan for the remainder amount.
Yeah, no. So I'm not entirely sure if everything was put down in cash, but I do think everything was put down in cash for the most part, and they maybe probably financed not even. Everything was put down in cash. Yeah,
because if you
even
like
the financing of
how would you finance the rest amongst a group of people? Would you have to form like an entity, like an LLC or something of the sort, and then have everybody as like a proprietary owner of the LLC, and then when they finance,
how technical did he have the setup? Were you guys all like put into some like an LLC type thing, or was it more he handled the back end as far as taking everyone else's payments and making sure the percentage was right, but he was the actual name on the building? Or
so it was bought through the property management company.
Okay, got it.
So within the property management company, there's an account for that building.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right? And for the account for that building, there are individual accounts for the individual investors. So every year, each individual investor gets a, I don't remember the exact title of the tax form, but you get a tax form that you can use for your income taxes and get deductions.
Got it.
Based off of that.
So were you hesitant? Because how old are you now?
I am 26 now.
26. Okay, so I'm picturing you at 22. Someone's like, all right, I got this investment idea for you. Like you can get, and you were already interested in real estate, right?
Yeah.
So like, what is it like when you first pay up that lump sum? Were you worried about the investment? Were you thinking like, man, what if the market tanks? What if, I don't know, what were the different worries you were thinking about?
See, for me, personally, like it was my friend. He had no reason to cheat me.
Yeah.
Like, I guess maybe I have more faith in my friends than other
you do.
people.
You probably just
do.
got good friends.
I was just like, he's a really good friend. Like grateful to have him in my life. Grateful that he was somebody that I met. Who I actually met him through his brother, and his brother was my classmate in college.
Wow.
So we're both sitting in biology class together. Just hanging, kicking it, and then I realized that he had a younger brother and everything, and then me and his younger brother started playing soccer together, and that's how we met. So the only thing I was actually worried about, remembering clearly, was me not getting the check on time to give it to them.
Oh, to give it to them.
Yeah, because the investment company, I literally got the check the same day because I was waiting on the, on the check on the bonus clearing through the same day.
You're about to miss out. Jeez.
The craziest part, I had worked the same day. So I pulled up at his apartment at like 8 p.m. with the check in hand. And then he gave me the contract. I signed the contract right then and there, gave him the check in hand, and that was it. Because I wanted to get in. I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity.
Is there any monitoring on your end after that, or you just kind of put it in and never had to worry about it?
Literally never had to worry about it.
And it's in Chicago. So back then you were living in Chicago.
Yes.
So when did you come out here?
I came out here January of this year.
Oh, okay. So relatively new to LA.
Yeah, new to the LA.
We're gonna have to hit some spots at some point.
Oh, definitely.
Sure. So all right, so you got your first property. At what point did you start moving into the next one, or what was your mindset trying to find more property? I assume at that point when you saw what that was doing, you're like, I need to acquire more.
Yeah. So the first property was just kind of set it and forget about it. I'm not gonna see anything.
Which is
for
not, you're
5
not
years.
tied to it like that, which is great.
Exactly,
You're being part of an investment group.
Exactly. So I mean, the only monitoring I do is when I get the tax form, and I'm like,
okay. Yeah.
you know, the first year or the first couple years, we didn't make any money off of it
Wait,
because of the pandemic.
Speaking of not making money, just like one last question for like the first property that you had.
Yeah.
In the event that, you know, like realistically with real estate investments, you know, like the asset will appreciate over time, and especially when you're renting them out and stuff, there will be like consistent revenue coming in. But in the event that the property depreciates, and then you do have a stake in that property, after 5 years, let's say, the property lost value for some reason, do you lose like what you put in? Like, how does that work?
So the way I like to think about it is like stocks.
Exactly.
Right? You don't lose money
until you sell. Okay.
You don't lose money.
Yeah, so
no matter
I'll
what.
be holding. Another 5.
Yeah, you look like it.
You know, don't be paper handed. All right.
Yeah, he holding the bag.
So yeah, you don't lose money until you sell.
Yeah.
Right. For real estate, it's not difficult. It's a waiting game. So you have to have a lot of it's not a get rich quick. Yeah, that was like one of the first things I learned. It's not, but it's a get rich for sure, right? So there are lots of real estate millionaires, right? And it doesn't mean they have $1 million in the bank. It means that their portfolio, their real estate portfolio, is worth a couple million, right? And if you really think about it, right, it's an asset.
For sure.
Right? It's gonna make you more money than it's gonna cost you, unless you're doing it wrong, right? So just have a plan. Talk to as many people as you feel comfortable talking to. Talk to your friends. Talk to professionals. You know, get a financial advisor. You know, talk to them. See like, how can I make this possible? You know what I mean? We have a lot of information at our disposal. You know, we just need to actually make use of the knowledge that we're getting and actually making use of the people that are around us, you know, because they have a lot of information to share.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, if you really think about it, like DJ Khaled, you know, he always has a bunch of millionaires around him.
Right.
That's true.
There's a reason for that. Every album he's got, do you know how many rappers or how many singers are on that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to call him like the Avengers of music. Because he brings a whole bunch of different people together.
For sure.
You know, and they make money every single album. He makes a #1 hit song every you know what I mean? So
like, surround yourself by the right people,
right.
You know?
Collaboration is so important. It's so important.
That makes a lot of sense. So later I want to get into more of how you do your actual research, because I know now you're further in the game.
Right.
But if we take it back to the story, if you go for that first property, all right, so you said at the start, first you said couple years, there was no cash flow really coming in because of the pandemic?
Yes, because of the pandemic, it took a while to renovate the place, and then it took a while to find rent. Actually, it didn't take long to find renters after the place was fully renovated, but it took a while to renovate the
renovations
place.
were the hold up.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Were you at any point like stressed, like, yo, what's going on? This thing isn't going up? Or did you have a way of actually, were you able to check to see the status of the property?
So every couple months they send an update.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
So like I said, lazy money. I'm not stressing out about it.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
Right.
Cool.
When I get an update, I get an update. If I don't get it, for me, no news is good news. And you know, if I hear good news, that's even better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so then at what point do you start moving into your next property?
So I didn't think about actually buying another property till I was living in Boston around this time last year.
You a nomad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's where another job opportunity came. So, you know, I was like, okay, you know, let's move to Boston and, you know, let's see what's happening here. And so in Boston, it was a bit more difficult to find property. I mean, the property that I was going to look for was going to be a personal property because I did have a roommate, but then, you know, as life was moving along, I came into a position where I needed to have my own place. But rent in Boston for a 2-bedroom is like $2,000.
Does that mean you got a girlfriend?
So
that's what it sounded like, right? You said I went to a point where now I needed my own place.
So yeah, I am happily married.
By the time it was your girlfriend, right?
Yeah, she was. I
knew it. That sounded like I needed a little space.
Yeah, you there right now?
You know, and she's from here. She's from California. So whenever she would come to visit, it would be more comfortable for both of us. Just for me to have my own place. So that's when I started looking into the different types of properties that were in Boston, and you know, I went from paying 1,000 shared with a roommate to thinking about possibly paying like 2,200, 2,300 for a place for myself. And I was like, this is
That's a mortgage payment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when I was looking at it, when I was running the numbers and everything, I was like, I could find a place a little bit further away from the city and I could pay a lot less.
Right.
You know, and have the whole place to myself if I just bought it. So that's what led me to buying that property.
That's tough. So it would have been mortgage $2,200. Oh, sure. So this one was cheaper than that. The other place was $2,200.
Yes. So to rent would have been $2,200.
Okay, got
but
it.
then when I eventually got my place and when I finally got the mortgage and everything, my mortgage was only like $1,100.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
so-
Did you get into like how much the property was?
Yeah, you had to
like
get a down
the
payment.
juicy stuff that people want to hear.
So yeah, so what I did first, I reached out to what's it called? A real
Realtor?
estate agent. Yeah. And this guy, really cool, super cool guy. I want to shout him out, Matt Basteri.
Matt Basteri.
He works all over
man.
Boston. If you find him on Zillow or wherever or on Google, hit him up. It was the easiest buying experience I've ever, literally. Everything worked out so smooth. But long story short, I went looking for places with him. He was like, okay, like, what's your budget? Like, what are you thinking? I'm like, I'm really not sure. I don't even know where to get started.
Right.
And he literally walked me through the entire process, right? So this is where it's good to like find people that are personable and are looking out for you, genuinely care
That's
about
crazy,
what they do and whatnot, right? It's good to have because I've dealt with real estate agents that just didn't care about they just want to show you the place. You want to sign up for it, you don't want to sign, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this guy, he was like, okay, well, first you need to talk to the bank, see how much you can get approved for.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I talked to different banks, and actually I first went through my personal bank, and then they were a little too aggressive with it, you know, which is right, yeah. Well, not necessarily. The interest rates were amazing at that point in time, because it was a buyer's market.
Oh,
no, it was a seller's market at that point in time.
What year was that?
So they wanted people to buy more.
You bought that property like recently too, like 2020.
I bought it. No,
2021.
I bought it last year.
Damn.
Oh wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I bought it last year. I lived in it for like 4 months, and then I made my way out here.
Yeah, but in terms of like a down payment and
right. So moving from Chicago to Boston, personally, I didn't have that much cash on hand or that I even wanted to, whatever, right? But what I did was I took the money from my 401k. Right?
Yeah.
So a 401k is an easy hack to keep yourself, out of debt.
Yeah.
And to keep yourself, ahead of the game, right? If I would have borrowed that down payment, or if I would have tried to like save up that down, it would have taken me a while. I'm gonna be honest, right? It would have taken me a while, but I just borrowed it from my 401k, and so there are two types, or there are three different types of ways to take money out of your 401k. I'm gonna talk about the two types that I was really interested in. So the first type is you either cash it out, and then they tax you like a 20% tax rate.
Terrible.
And then you pay income tax on that as well at the end of so they're taxing you twice. That's what I did. I was being dumb.
Damn,
that was because I didn't know about the second way. Right. The second way is you borrow it from your 401k.
Yeah.
And then you pay yourself back.
Okay, so that makes sense. So you're basically giving yourself a loan.
Exactly. So so they charge you interest, right? But the interest goes straight to you. That's what I'm saying. So you're paying yourself back as time goes on, and that just means you're just replenishing the money back into your 401k. Yeah. Which is like, it's your money, right? And you're gonna get it back. Yeah. So it's not like you're paying a bank something at the end of the day, right? That's crazy. I went through the first path. I just took the losses and everything, because I was also like in a time crunch, and then, I had to find a property as quickly as possible. So that was what I used for the down payment. And then I went through a smaller bank, and those guys, they were really helpful as well.
Was it a credit union?
Yes, it was a credit union. Always go through, personally, I think it's a better idea to go through credit unions. So everyone that's in the credit world,
they all say that, right?
All credit unions.
Yeah,
Maybe federal credit's big.
Yeah, because the bigger banks, they will they will always try to like cough up more money out of you.
Yeah.
From my personal experience, at least,
No,
right?
a lot of people say that.
Yeah, so go through credit unions because they're just glad to have the business, you know, and they're owned, you know, they're more like embedded within the community.
Yeah.
So they actually genuinely care about what's going on within the community. All those bigger chain banks,
Yeah, they don't care.
They're just about making money.
Yeah, I was
And
talking
you
to
know
Tori
what I mean?
behind the scenes. He was worried because he was running late to an appointment at like Chase Bank. I'm like, dude, they don't care. Like
They don't care
they're not
about
worried
you.
about it at all.
Exactly.
they ain't worried about you,
Yeah,
bro.
they.
Like, all right,
If you don't show up, it is what it is.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And you know that's one of the things that that I actually set out for a goal for myself because like I don't want to ever put myself in a position where I want to ask anyone for money or where I, you know, like there's nothing wrong with asking for help if you need it, but I like to put myself in a position where I can help people.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to like ask for help, not because of like an ego thing or anything, but you know, like
it's hard to help when you need help.
Yeah, you ask the wrong person for help, and that could really bite you back. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So there's nothing wrong with asking people. Just make sure it's the right person.
Right.
Then ask the right people for help. But I like to put myself in the position where I can help people.
Exactly.
As opposed to you know ask for help, and that's why you know for me like the financial freedom thing is such a big deal for me.
So back to the 401k loan, you mentioned, I think it's a genius idea. Like you just take out a loan against what you have invested and you're paying yourself back, right? With the interest, so it's like you're paying yourself a little more, right?
Yep.
So the two questions that I had is like, what's in it for the banks? Because it seems as though if you're paying the interest back to yourself, how are they benefiting from it, right?
I mean, they get a transaction fee. So
I guess.
Don't worry about the bank. The banks never lose.
Okay,
But that
yeah,
is
that's
a good
true.
question.
That's true.
What is in it for the bank? I don't think you should worry about what's in it for the bank. I think you should worry about
screw the banks.
like what you're gonna lose from each option.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either way, they get a transaction fee.
Okay.
From whichever way you use. That's how they make money. They make money from transaction fees.
That's true.
If you really think about it, anytime you swap your card, like there's a transaction fee.
Or overdraft
that you're
fees,
not,
if you heard about
you're
it.
not thinking about. That's how they really make. That's how Visa got so big, right? From transaction fees.
Got it.
So that's how
sense.
they make their money for the most part, and they make. I mean, like from when you're talking about. I mean, yeah, typically banks make their money from like interest rates and like stuff as well, but that comes from like bigger loans and everything, right? But at the end of the day, they would have just made their fee from the transaction. I mean, their money from the transaction.
So they're making money like every direction. I mean,
Yeah, bro, they know what they're doing.
If you got bad credit, man, you might really pay 14% interest on your car. Like they're getting interest left and right from everybody. That's loan here, and then student loans.
Yeah.
Come on, they're making money.
Not anymore.
Right?
Oh yeah,
Thanks,
okay,
Joe Biden.
Biden might have screwed
love
with
you.
the banks.
Thanks, Biden.
Oh, no, what were you saying? And then I got a question about that.
Yeah, sorry.
property.
So the second question with the 401k loan that I had was in regards to your monthly payments. So obviously, like you take out a mortgage, which is separate from the 401k loan. So technically, for that asset, do you have like two monthly payments? You're paying the 401k loan, and then you're paying the separate loan that you took for the remainder. Is that how it works?
So all of that, I mean, I guess, yes, you would have two monthly payments, one for your mortgage and then one to repay back your 401k. The 401k is a bit more lenient because you can push it back.
Really?
Yeah, and then I think you can set how much you want as well.
Really?
Simply because I didn't go through that route, I don't know too much specifics.
Oh, okay.
That's what I read.
But you should have done it, is what you're saying.
That's what I should have done, right?
Okay.
Because it's way more flexible than if you were to borrow from a bank. If you were to borrow from a bank, this is your set monthly payment. You just kind of have to chop it up, and then they eat all the interest, rates and everything.
And would you happen to know what the 401k, do they pull the money from your investment account? So let's say, like, you're invested in Tesla stock, for example.
Right.
Do they pull those investments out so that money isn't appreciating or depreciating, for example, and it's technically like in whatever asset you have, and then as you pay back that investment, then it starts accumulating again? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you get a check and you see your account balance decrease.
Okay.
So they send you a check and it reflects on your account.
Got it.
Right. But it shows up in like another kind of account statement saying this is your loan, this is how much you have to pay into it and everything. So
Okay.
as you see it accumulate, it kind of goes back into the loan, and I
Okay.
guess once you finish paying it off, it goes back into the investment.
This is
account.
genius. Okay.
That's genius, bro.
So, all right. So back to that second property. So you
Right.
figure out what the mortgage is. You said you're only there for 4 months, and you came out here.
Yep.
So what was the move then, and what was your overall plan? Was your plan really basically just to live there, continually? What was the plan with that investment?
So the plan with this investment, so I found the property up further north of Boston, and it was about 45 minutes north. It's in the Lowell area.
Mhm.
It's it's kind of like a developing city.
Yeah.
When I was looking at it, there are lots of newer buildings coming up, lots of newer businesses showing up, and the property I got was literally right in downtown,
Mhm.
like downtown of that city, right? So so the location was great. That's the first thing you need to understand. That's the first thing you need to
Damn. Big
understand when you're buying property, right?
Yeah.
Location. The location is very, very important. It was in between two colleges,
That's the best,
and it
bro.
was downtown of that city.
How do you go about researching that when you're looking for the best location? So you're looking for businesses opening up close by, schools close by, is there, or just jobs close by?
Yep. So in order to what you want to put in account is how like the commute around that area, the types of stores that are around that area, how close they are to that area, and the best thing for you to do that is to drive through the place.
Okay.
So I actually drove through the place a couple times. Like I literally circled around the property a couple times just to get a feel for what was around. It being Boston, there were like 3 Dunkin' Donuts like within walking distance of that area. There was a gas station not even like 2 minutes of a drive from that area. You know what I mean?
All right, slight intermission, but we back now.
Yeah, homeboy
So
gotta take
you
it
were
down.
talking about you were talking about scoping out the properties. So
Right.
I feel like that's the biggest point of where people don't know where to start when they're researching properties. Like, we don't know where to look. If I'm the average person, like, don't know where to look, don't know really what to look for, and how to even like get started. I feel like that's the hardest part in most ventures is like getting started.
For sure.
People have no idea. They know like general gist of a market or what they hear.
Right.
But so what was that process like? You said you drove around, you scoped out the area, and then how much did your real estate agent help with that as well?
Okay, so with scoping out their area, for the most part, what I really did was kind of after I got the approval for the loan, for the mortgage loan from the bank, they gave me a set budget. Like they're like, this is how much we can approve you for, and that's what you're gonna get, right? So they gave me like $240K to find a property. So I had to look for properties within that range. To be honest, like there weren't too many options, at that price range.
Yeah.
But there were what I did personally was there are a couple of things that just based off of living in Chicago, like during the winter, my experiences, there were a couple of things that were non-negotiable for me, right? Central heat in the air and laundry in unit and hardwood floors. Those were absolute necessary.
What's the thought process behind that? Put me on game.
So I mean, it's just for comfort, right? In those areas, it snows, and it snows really, really bad. A majority of the year, it's like, it's winter time, right? For like 8 months out of the year, and it's really, really cold.
Got it.
I don't like the cold.
Right, you gotta keep it in.
Like exactly. And with central heat and air, you just change it as the season comes, right? You don't have to worry about installing an AC or having to buy an AC.
Okay, yep.
Or you don't have to worry about getting a heater, or or if your heater is broken or like whatever.
Got it.
And then for something that was more specific to like finding the property was a low HOA fee. Right?
Oh man,
because that's another thing. When you think about these
No
mortgages,
HOA.
there's the housing insurance to the HOA fees.
back to HOA fees, right?
You say good?
Yeah.
HOA.
All right, so last thing we left off was I was saying, you got all those HOA fees, home insurance fees, and you jumped in.
Yeah. So I think I was talking about the how to find a place specifically, like what went into that, and if the real estate agent helped. So literally all I did was research through Zillow, RE, and all those apps. You have all those apps at your disposal. They do help. So what I did was if I found a property that I liked on one app, I would look for it on the other app, make sure the numbers matched up, and then I'll add it to my list of the properties that I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And then so I gave all that list. It took time, but it was definitely worth it. You know, because I get to find out what I think I would like, and then the real estate agent, he would set up the appointments, and we would just go hit up like 2, 3, 4, 5 spots at a time.
How long is this process going from the point where you start researching, and how actively were you researching it?
So I actively searched for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Just like researching in between, talking to the real estate agent and everything. We went out 2 separate occasions, and we looked at 4 or 5 spots at each occasion, and then on the second occasion, I had found a spot that I liked, and we just moved in from there.
Got it. Okay, so now you end up being there for 4 months.
Right.
What do you do with that property now?
So right now, it's a rental property. I had a real estate agent find some
so it's a
people
lease.
that live. Yeah. So I have it rented out to a nice couple, a family of 4, I believe. And every month, you know, I just get the check and I don't have to worry about anything else.
And so, did you have any thought process of, do I want to make this an Airbnb or do I want to make this a lease? Because the lease is very passive. That's the good part about that.
Yep.
But the Airbnb, if you, depending on your area, and if you get it jumping, then you're getting paid per day versus, you have to make it reasonable when it's someone living there for a year with a family. You can't be like, all right, so here's the nightly fee.
Exactly.
Nah, it's got to be a sense of a mortgage almost.
So I did explore Airbnb options, but because of my HOA, that was just not renting it out. Was
you know
not
one thing about that?
We've been dealing with that. I have a property we have property in Vegas.
Okay.
And that's been our issue. So the Airbnb ruined it for us, but luckily I had built up enough.
The HOA ruined it for you.
Sorry, well, the HOA finding out about the Airbnb because having it on the site ruined it.
I see.
And then, but luckily, I built up enough customers from Airbnb where now I just book them off platform, and that's really I got someone in there right now. But
that's dope.
Yeah, so it's been lined up. But yeah, HOAs are no joke, man, because it's you can't really hide your listing. Like if I was an HOA saying this was a community, all I have to do is let's go on Airbnb. Oh, there's a property right here. It's one of ours. There's no way to get around it, honestly.
Absolutely. And you know, I have the building that I got, or the apartment that I got within the building. It's kind of like a tight knit community, so everybody kind of knows everybody that's walking in.
Man,
So if they keep seeing like different people walk into that apartment, you know, they're gonna be like, hey, well, you know, what's going on here? And also, I wasn't gonna stay. The property was, you know, for me to live in for a year. At least that was the idea that I had, because I didn't think I was gonna be coming out to California. But you know, eventually I had to find my way out here, so it was just easier for me to rent it out to people that I know are gonna, or that I had enough faith in to just take care of it, and then pay the rent every month.
Are you happy with the rent?
Absolutely.
You put it at a good rate. So you're getting paid.
Covers the mortgage and all that.
It covers the mortgage.
It better cover the mortgage. You better.
Well, you never know.
Exactly. No, that's literally all it does. It covers the mortgage. It covers the mortgage, and for me, that's more than enough for what I was asking for. Because going within like 4 months of buying a property, living in it for like 2 or 3, and then like having it rented out the minute I moved in. I can't help but be grateful.
I mean, yeah, you're owning a huge asset for free. Right. That's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. Lazy money. It's literally paying for itself. I don't have to deal with much. And if I have to like renovate anything or fix anything in there, there are apps that
What's that one app that you always talk about?
I can't remember. What it is.
Ooh, I'm fascinated about this because renovations is
called Thumbtack.
Thumbtack.
So, yeah, my old supervisor or my old manager from my job in Boston put me on it because he's also a real estate investor. Like he owns a couple properties out in Boston. And I was like, hey, I need to fix this. Do you know how I can fix it? Like, and it was like, yeah, just use Thumbtack. Like,
and so how does that work?
So basically, Thumbtack lists a bunch of different contractors. So they're contractors for anything and everything that you will need for your house. And long story short, at least with the guy that had me, so what was wrong was the bathroom light. The fixture was the light was not working anymore, and the vacuum wasn't working anymore. So what had me so I needed that to be replaced. So the guy that I contracted, he basically went to Home Depot, called them up and said, this is what it is. Home Depot called me, and then they asked me for my card information, gave them my card information. They took the charges. I was actually pretty nervous throughout this process because, man, I hope I'm not getting scammed or anything.
Yeah, and you're like
So,
totally across the world.
Right, because I've never
basically,
done
not
this.
very
Yeah,
close.
exactly. Like I can't do anything about it, and then I'll be out a couple of $100s if it's not fixed,
Yeah, hey, at least it
Right.
wasn't anything crazy. 'Cause
Right.
that's probably the best starter one you could have versus like
Exactly.
you gotta like a flood isn't under the sink. You gotta redo all the
Exactly.
wood or something. That's
Exactly.
different. You're like, all right, I might have to just fly down because
Yeah, just to see what's going on here.
a
Yeah.
lot.
So I checked the charge on my credit card. It was Home Depot. I was like, this guy's
God, it wasn't the
trustworthy.
strip club or
Right.
nothing.
Yeah, so he went into the place, communicated with my my tenant, and so they let him in, and then he just did the job, sent pictures and everything. I messaged the tenant. Was like, "How does it look? How is it?" It was like, "It was really good. Service was really great." And then paid the guy through the app what I needed to do.
Would you recommend? Okay, 2 questions. Remind me about the second one. But would you recommend going through having a real estate agent find you that leaser or that tenant basically? Would
Yes.
that be the route you choose? Because
Yep.
I know there's other ways listing in different places, but was that like the easiest route because they're going to be able to find people?
That was the easiest route because they know what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a real estate agent. I don't.
Yeah.
They've dealt with so many people either trying to buy or rent. They know certain
How do they
keys.
get compensated?
Yeah,
though?
that exactly.
So they make 50% of the rent
1 month's rent.
of 1 month's
And
rent.
so that's why it
Right.
basically pays off the mortgage.
Right.
Oh,
So-
each month's rent, right?
So of 1 month's rent.
Oh man,
That's
okay, that's
it.
way better. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, he's taking half of
Oh,
every
bro, I'm about
month.
to
Yeah.
say.
I'm like, yo,
Exactly.
that man is getting paid.
So the rent that I was charging was $1,700, and so she made half of that.
Okay.
You had to pay out of pocket.
I had to pay
Gotcha.
out of pocket.
First
So
month,
I
but-
charged them, first month's rent
That's not
and
bad.
last month's rent. So that came out of the last month's rent.
Okay,
So
that makes a lot of sense.
So they will pay. So my tenants won't pay anything for last month's rent.
Right.
So because they've already paid that, right? But I mean, I just hope they keep renting the property, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have to worry about that for like a couple more years.
And you had a second question,
I
right?
love that. Oh, my second one was, so when you first got the property, did you make any renovations to it off the rip, or did you just start furnishing it?
I did. So
See, I told him. See,
no, actually, I started furnishing it and I moved in.
Okay,
The property was already. It was a newer.
okay, it was ready to
right.
go.
It was an old mill building that was already renovated. Right? So
Okay.
they turned the old mill building into apartments, right? The smaller renovations that happened within the house, I made them from my
Okay.
own 2 hands, right? So I was going in,
What'd you do?
fixing. So
You're like a handy guy, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I try to be like.
I gotta get
I went
there.
in, I fixed the garbage disposal. Went in, fixed. Yeah, man. Like,
Wow, bro. I
You're
can't
an
do
animal.
that.
See, I'm bad. I'm like, my dad's the
Are you
same
lazy?
way, bro. We call someone for every, like, I feel like he got expertise. But I've gotten so lucky. The property in Vegas, it's so different from out here. Out LA, you call a plumber, like, he's gonna hit you with 4 different things, stuff you
Yep.
didn't even need fit. Out there, man, they're giving you so much game. Like, they want to teach you about plumbing and be
Exactly.
like, oh, but this is good for now, but for what you're doing, you're all good. But maybe later down the line,
They're
you
honest
cut-
people.
Dude,
Yeah.
they're super honest. They'll tell you about their day. If it's hot outside, they're gonna complain. They're like, man,
They tell you
hot
about
out
you.
here, man.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this shit.
Same
They're-
thing in Boston, man.
Okay, I can
Mhm.
see that. Smaller, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So one question that I had, 'cause I'm a numbers guy. I always think numbers, and I think a lot of people out there think numbers, right? They think like, all right, I'm making like, I don't know, like 70,000 a year, something like that. Like, can I afford $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 house? Like, they don't really know these things. So for the house, for the asset that you purchased, which was the apartment, right? How much did you put down? How much did you have to put down?
Yeah.
For the seller, how much were they expecting you to put down? Like, these are all things that I think about personally. So if you could share some of that.
So, I mean, at least what I've read and what I've come to learn from other people's experiences is with real estate, you can get very creative. In my experience, it wasn't like creative at all or anything. It was pretty generic. I only had to put down 10% because I was a first-time
Wow.
home buyer.
See, I was gonna ask about an
Yeah.
FHA loan, or if you
Yeah.
looked into that, or maybe I thought
I
maybe the
did.
401k might have affected that because that was the route you were going.
Right. So I did look into that, and that was not a viable option for me because I didn't know if I was gonna live there for
Okay.
a whole
For
year.
1
Yeah,
year,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Right. So that had that,
Well,
and
good
then
thing you didn't go with that.
right, and then with the
Bro.
property that I was looking at, I was making too much money to be able to afford it or to be able to get the loan and everything.
Okay.
So like, So that loan was just not, you know, an option
yeah.
for me at all. So I actually, you know, because it's free money. Why
Right,
wouldn't you
right.
want to use it? You know?
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to take the 401k route.
Right.
So like, so, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. So like some people, they were just giving up, like, oh, I can't afford the FHA loan, or like, blah, blah, I'll just wait and save up for it or whatever. I was like, nah, you know, I need to, there's a way to figure this out. So that's why I took the route of, you know, taking out my 401k, because I'm like, yeah, it's sitting there. It could make me some money later on, or I could use it on a bigger property and everything.
Some people, I feel like with investing, we're always told like, it's like there's different levels. Some people don't know anything about investing. Then some people are like, oh, you should definitely invest. But sometimes I feel like it does matter how much you have to invest, or like how much is really gonna double. Like if you had if you had, you know, it's gonna, you know, like $5,000, and you don't have a lot of cash flow, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna put it into this. Realistically, you got to think about like, what's your return gonna be? Even if you doubled your money, but if it took 10 years because you put it on to like Apple, and you know how fast it's gonna move realistically, is that actually a good return on your investment? If because of that you had no capital. So like guys that have, if you have no money in your bank account, you only have 5,000, or you say you have 7,000, I'm gonna put 5,000 in there. You know, like that's not gonna flip that quickly, and you're not with that big of a sum. So you don't want 5 years later for that 5,000 to turn 10,000, but you could never put cash into anything. And then it's like, well, great, you made 1,000 every year. That's terrific.
But you couldn't use the So, that's where That's where you try to use other people's money. You know what I mean?
OPM.
So, cash is king.
Right.
Always pay yourself first, whatever that looks like. Like if you get, I know it's difficult to, you know, set a little money aside every month from like, you know, from just like your regular day-to-day things, right? So that's why getting a financial advisor is key, right?
Okay, you have a financial advisor.
I do.
Okay, we're gonna get into that.
I do have So that's why getting it's key, right? Because they can help guide. They can give you ideas on what you can do to limit your liabilities and to actually pay yourself and to put yourself in a better position, right? So before that, I mean, they tell you before you think about investing or anything, have like 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up.
Okay.
Right? I actually, they have. That's the first thing that you do. Have some safety net, and then the second thing they tell you is clear all your debts. Whatever that looks, it's difficult. It's very difficult, right? So the first thing before even the first thing that you have to is take a look inward and think, what am I spending all my money on? Literally break it down, put it into sections, and then see where you can cut back. Right? There are certain things you can't live with, right? Those are your set expenses, like your rent or your mortgage or your bills, or, you know, like internet, your car note or your cell phone bill. Those are necessities, right? Okay. So you have those down, and then you know that, like, at the very least, if I don't spend money on anything else, I'm spending this much. Okay. Right? Yeah. And then like when it comes to like your food, like what you spend on clothing and everything, you can actually like cut back a little. I don't mean that you have to starve yourself, but like you have to be more creative about where you're sourcing your food. If you're eating out a lot, maybe cut back, maybe, you know, hold yourself accountable, and like really you have to be disciplined, and you have to really, you know, hold yourself to this plan and stick to it. It takes time, and it's really frustrating, and you are gonna like, you know, your plan's gonna fall apart every now and then. Yeah. But just keep going back to it.
And see, that's kind of also what I wanted to get into with you is like, well, because I know, like, you know, especially on like social media, we can see people. It all sounds so great when you're like being successful in it, right? But it's really the things that people don't understand is all the learning curves you experience along the way. Do you have any, like, off the top of your head, where it's stuff you learned or stuff you would have done differently, or just different I guess lumps you took throughout the journey?
Right. So I mean, honestly though, if I were to like really go back and start it off, what I would do differently is probably go to community college.
Oh yeah.
Not too far back.
Not have to pay anything, or not have to like outsource loans for college, right? That would have been the first thing.
At least you picked a good major though. You're able to get good jobs.
Yeah,
you can do communications.
Gender studies.
Oh yeah, you would have been. He would have been booming right now.
Oh, you're out.
Social media king.
The
right
market
now.
for it, you know.
Right.
But I mean, realistically thinking about it, the 401k thing, that's something I would have done differently. Out of, borrowed it as opposed to like completely cash it out and taking that L, what else I would have done is maybe not invested, maybe done way more research into like the certain stocks I picked, like, at the middle of the pandemic and whatnot.
For sure.
Yeah, you know a thing or two about that.
I'm in my trading journey, so I know all about that. You know what I'm saying?
Hole in the bag.
I've been nice
Hole in
lately,
the bag.
I took a lot of lumps on the way up, so I know what you mean.
Yeah, a lot.
The twists and the
I
curves,
said
man.
that. I said a lot.
I had to emphasize it a lot.
Yeah, and honestly, I wish I would have gotten started earlier. I did set
Earlier
myself
than
up.
22?
Yes, man. I wish I would
That's
have.
pretty early, but I feel like everyone always be thinking like you want everything.
Because like when you first get out there and into the workforce and you start making money outside of college, you just want to party. You just want to like have friends. Like go. Oh, I can afford this now. I can go eat.
How old are you when you graduated college?
I was 21. I had turned.
I'm surprised because a lot of people get like complacent because they get that first job and they're like, I made it, and then but you were already thinking about investing and stuff.
Man,
so you're pretty ahead of further than a lot of kids.
Yeah, man. I'm the first job I took when I got out of college was paying me $16 an hour. I was barely affording. I was like, as a science major, I was barely affording to just live.
Yeah, you could have worked for us.
You know what I mean?
$16 an hour.
Yeah, man.
That'll work.
$16 an hour. Yeah. And I was the friend I was telling you about that I invested in, and I told you I met his brother in college, right? He was making way more in Chicago. And he was just like, man, what are you doing? You can make way more with your... I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
right.
Because when I first found that job, my job was applying for jobs.
I know a thing or two about
8
that.
hours a day sending in applications.
That's what people don't get. Whenever I hear someone, I haven't been able to get a job, that's actually exactly what then your job needs to be, you need to be at there 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day, figure it out. But if you don't have a rap sheet of people you're applying to every day, then why are you sad about not having a job?
Outside of college, I had no job. Well, I was working as a soccer coach for little kids.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't even getting enough hours. I think I was getting like 2 hours a week or something like that. So all the extra time searching for jobs, like just looking for. So when I found that job, I just felt lucky to have this job. I was like, oh my God, somebody's paying me. Thank God, right? And then I spoke to her and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you can make so much. Like, that's slavery, bro. Like, why are you doing that?
It takes someone to hit you that way.
And he was like, I'm making way more. And I was like, wait, you can make that much? And I started, applying. So LinkedIn is probably, if you're a professional, LinkedIn is gonna be your biggest asset.
Right.
I know social, like, people love IG, people love all these other apps and everything, right?
Type of connections.
But for your profession, LinkedIn is your literally
certain professions.
Certain professions. The first job,
job type fields, LinkedIn is the move.
Well, yeah, if you're like a professional, right? So literally my first job in the industry was through LinkedIn. A recruiter had messaged me. I had gotten some messages from recruiters, but like none of them really like were fruitful. So I was like kind of hesitant. I messaged them back. Within like 2 months, I had a whole new job. I was making a decent more amount of money in Chicago. Like it was going a lot farther, right? Like I was able to get a better apartment
money. We know.
Right.
We know. 2 apartment money.
Invest in the apartment money. No, we know.
Not nowhere near. But then I remember I was working my ass off, like doing extra overtime, but taxes, like they take most of it in taxes anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like my work schedule was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and I lived an hour away. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wow. It was further north of Illinois. I lived in downtown Chicago. So I was waking up at like 4 a.m.
Whoa.
Getting ready. And I remember like typically my schedule is like four days for 1 week and then 3 days for the next week. But I remember because I was like trying to learn all the different things that my job had to offer. I was working like 5 days almost every week, just going in on my office trying to learn new things, right? And to be honest, the money wasn't worth it, but the knowledge was.
I feel like it never is in most cases.
What I learned from that was way more worth it because on my drive to work one of those mornings, I was like falling asleep at the wheel, and I was like, bro, like I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. Right. Like this is so stressful. This is like there's got to be a better way to be financially successful
Right.
and like than like working my ass off, because at that point I still wasn't seeing like the like the real benefits of
Yeah.
it. Like, I still had like your college debt. I still like like
Mm-hmm.
like when you're making, but you're not like it's not showing, it's not impacting, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Just disperse quickly.
Exactly. Right. So at that point I was like, there's gotta be a better way, and that's when I got started like getting into investing. I was reading a bunch of books and like investing, like how to like manage your money and everything, and all these different things. And that's when I decided to get a financial advisor and all these different things.
What would you say like your biggest piece of education is, as far as like everything we're talking about, real estate wise, money management, wealth management?
So I think experience is your best teacher, and you really have to look inward, and you have to be humble with yourself and be humble with like the type of personality that you have, right? I am someone who doesn't like stress. If something's gonna stress me out unnecessarily, like if work stresses me out, that's fine. If like, or different, like if my family members stress me out, that's fine, right? Like, that's what comes with the territory, right? But if I'm stressing out but if I'm like overly exerting myself for work or to like try and make money or like whatever, or try to pay off a bill or what, I don't like it. Right. I'm lazy in that regard. I'm gonna be honest. I'm really lazy in that regard.
I mean, you're 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you're fighting.
You're a
through it,
hustler.
though.
Hustler.
But you going through that experience, I had to be humble with myself. I'm like, I can't do this much longer. I need to figure out a different way. I need to find something else that works for me and my personality type. And that's where stock, I tried day trading. I was like, this is too stressful for me.
You gotta take
I'm gonna just set it and forget about it.
You gotta lose a shit ton of money, and then you can start building up.
I lose money on my own already.
You never lose too much, you know?
That's true.
That's
Unless
true.
lose it all, but shit.
Yeah, he knows a thing or two about that. But your long-term goals, right?
Yeah.
That was
Like,
exactly what I was about to ask you. Where do you want to go with everything?
So with everything, I just want to be financially free, and I just want to be that just means being debt free. I guess that's my short-term goal. My long-term goals is to definitely have a couple properties under my belt. Definitely have a more of a diverse portfolio. So I want to, I don't necessarily just want to own properties. I want to like do more flips, like helping, like the same the first investment property that I did.
The Boston property.
Right.
What do you plan to do with that one?
So that one, I'm gonna hold it for a while, and then because the area is still up and developing, so I just know the cost of that property, it's gonna increase.
Yeah, don't short yourself.
It's just a matter of time. Exactly. There's no point selling out now because it's in the long term. It's a long-term game.
How many years do you see? If you had to like just make a guess, how many more years do you think you'll own it? Because you've already owned it for 1 year now, right?
Yeah. No, not even a year.
Coming up on
a year. Yeah. I'm gonna keep holding as long as the mortgage at least keeps paying itself off. I'm gonna keep holding it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, up until because I really don't see the need to rent it out. And then another goal. So I spoke to my investor. I mean, no, not my
Financial
investor.
advisor.
Yeah, my financial advisor the other day while I was at the gym, and he was like, I was asking him, how can I take out equity on this property to buy another property?
Right.
He
We gotta
said
talk
that he
about
had done
that.
it himself, but he said that his property was close to being paid off before he did it to get the max amount. So
so
my
he can
property
use.
is still.
Yo, actually, why don't you run us down? How does that work? Taking equity from a property you currently own. I assume it's how much you paid off in the property.
Yes.
Okay.
So how much you've paid off in the property, coupled with the appreciation of that property.
Okay.
That's insane.
Okay.
Yeah, that's insane.
So you talk to your bank, you ask them for an equity loan, and then they will approve you based on like your debt to income ratio.
Okay.
And then they will see, or based on your available equity, and then they will give you a certain amount of that equity, and then you can use that equity to make a down payment on another property.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't recommend using it to just cash it out or like whatever, because you're gonna pay a lot of taxes on that.
Okay.
But if you use it to buy another property, you're not gonna pay.
Are
any
you
tax on
shielded
that.
through the 1031 exchange if you take the
Hold
positive?
up. What is the 1031 exchange? For the viewers, I know everything.
Yeah.
But
Do you know anything about 1031 exchange?
I don't know anything about it.
Educate
Or-
us.
So as far as I know, 1031 exchange is what like the big real estate moguls use.
Right.
And so what it is, it's like like a tax shielding in which basically like you have an asset, it's appreciated, you sold it, right? You're happy, you have all this extra cash,
Right.
but you have 6 months to reinvest it, and then you don't have to pay any tax on it at all.
Right.
And so that's what these big real estate people do when they scale. So they might buy like one house, it appreciates, sell it. Next one, appreciates, sell it. And they just keep reinvesting that money, so it benefits the government because that money's continuously reinvested into the economy, and the people aren't necessarily cashing out. They're just like building on that like initial investment they had, and they pay zero tax until the very end when they decide to like, I don't know, like not reinvest the money and pocket it, then they pay tax. But rich people are smart. They take out loans against these assets so they don't have to pay tax on it. Like the very rich, Elon Musk, for example.
That kind of made me laugh when you were talking about how much of like your paycheck was getting like taxed and stuff. Man. It's just funny how like when you work somewhere, you lose so much more in tax. It's such a dent, and then other people, the wealthy, like they have so many different loopholes. Money, But if you work a job, like there's really just no way really around it. Like you're still getting your check and it's getting taxed based off of that. Like that's pretty much it. There's nothing you can't wire it through an LLC. No, it's
what it is. But there's things you can write off, like property tax, for example. Something you told me, I think.
Yeah, you can.
That can be written off.
Yeah. So if you're your own business, or if you like I said, you have to have a tax person who's like creative with you, right?
Okay.
Who knows your life. Yeah, because there are lots of things. So I was a small business owner.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my business did not take off like I wanted it to.
Oh really? Oh, so you actually were a small business owner?
I started a small bit, but it didn't take off. So that was kind of sidelined for.
Okay. Tell us about the small business.
So I try to get into the workout industry. Outsourced my different. What's it called? Workout gear from China. Okay. And then I try to like do drop shipping and everything.
When was this?
This was at the peak of the pandemic.
Oh, okay,
so I was trying everything I could, I was like, I have all this extra time, why not, so everything I needed, there are lots of things that my tax person or my, was telling me. She was like, you bought a laptop and you use it for your business.
Right.
Why is that not a deductible? You drove to the post office and everything you paid for to ship these things out. Why is that not a deductible?
Right.
Like, why aren't you telling me all these things?
But for that to be the case, do you have to, with that business you had, assuming that LLC made and everything, do you have to have all your finances running through that LLC's bank account for any of the deductibles to make sense?
So
that's why I'd be messing up.
That was something that she spoke to me about, because at first I did not keep business and my personal separate, and she got really mad at me for that, because she was like, you have to keep, if it has to do with your business, you have to keep your business.
He messing up.
Right, you have to keep it. It's not, keep it within the business. So we did set up an LLC. We went and got a bank account for that LLC, and everything else moving forward was ran through that LLC bank account. Keep them separate. Yeah, you have to keep them separate. Otherwise, the whole purpose of the LLC gets defeated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you're getting transactions through making transactions through your personal account, you're technically a part of the LLC now. They can, if someone goes after your LLC, you're intertwined. So they can come after you and your personal assets as well.
Thought of it like that.
Yeah. So, and the point of an LLC is, you keep it separate from your own personal assets. It gives you that level of protection, and at the same time, it gives you a different level of benefits as well. So if you're making money through your LLC, the overall income that the LLC is making doesn't go onto your own personal tax liability. It goes.
So you essentially need to, because then the problem would be, say I'm going to look to get a property and then look at my debt to income ratio.
Right.
If I'm not paying myself out of the LLC, it's going to look like I'm making no income, right?
Through the LLC, yeah.
But I have to. So it makes sense why people have to give themselves payouts through their LLC, so they can show some income.
That they're making income.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now I know we jumped around, but back to you taking the equity from your first property or from your Boston property, and then using it to the next one. I got to hear about that.
So I haven't
so much game today.
I haven't done it yet, because my property is still pretty. It's still pretty new. I really hasn't appreciated that much, and I really haven't paid off that much of the mortgage or anything. So that was what I didn't know that my financial advisor let me know.
Okay.
Right. So you need to let it age. So also a part of the waiting game. by the time I'm ready to cash out, it's gonna be easy money, free money that I get to use to put that on another property. So it's a long game, it's a waiting game, and at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say I regret going into real estate. I can't hear anyone.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I've heard people say I regret, buying that stock. Or buying that crypto, but I've never heard people say I regret going into real estate.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's a get rich for sure. You just have to figure out what works for you personally.
Yeah.
And once you figure out like what your personality style is and what the type of investments that you want to work through, how that works for you, great. I think personally what I would like to do next is buy kind of like an event building or like an office building. I mean, that's like way
office building, bro.
Those not even like a big office, just like a small office building, because you get that in a prime location, you can charge way more than what your mortgage is.
Okay, when you say prime location, are you thinking like in LA, or like do you have a city in mind?
Ideally, I would like to go and invest more in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area.
You just like the area because you're familiar with it, or
not just because I'm familiar with it, because it's way cheaper over there.
Oh,
the cost
okay.
of it will not. Compared to California, is just way cheaper to find. You can get an apartment building for like $600K, and it'll have like
that's crazy
4 apartments in there.
Crazy.
As compared to here, like
That's
a 2-bedroom, like way out is like $600K. You know.
Chicago's the move. Okay.
Yeah. So look out for different markets. I know something that you should also look for, another kind of area of protection for yourself, is to look out for renter. Or was it renter friendly states, not
right
like
here.
not the tenant friendly states.
Right here.
No, not the tenant friendly states.
Yeah.
The renter.
Friendly.
You as a renter, look for states that are friendly towards you, because the last thing you want is someone squatting in your place and not paying the rent or and having to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
See, when people run into those situations, though, I'll be honest. I feel like I just move a little different. Like, we're gonna have some boys outside the house, and it's gonna get uncomfortable real quick. When I've heard
We'll
stories
call it
about
fam.
that. My mom knows someone who owns a property, and during COVID, because they had like the relief, so they weren't having to pay rent anyways.
Right.
But she's a straight squatter, hoarder, and the person didn't do a credit check on them.
Man.
And so she's just stuck in there. I'm like, yo, if that was like my mom's property, bro, we gonna be outside. Like, we're gonna. Or at least
They ain't gonna be squatting no more.
They're gonna be uncomfortable, bro. They're not gonna feel safe just staying in the
in
house.
those situations, there's very little you can do, just because like the law's on their side.
I just gotta hit someone up. We're gonna start light.
Right.
Just throw a rock through the window. They're gonna just start getting more and more.
Next, we go to a grenade, and then we go.
And you could be like, you don't want to mess up your place either. You know what I'm
At this
saying?
point,
Like,
I
don't
gotta get you out, man. Well, I'll fix the window. But okay, I feel like there's on social media, especially, or just we're getting so much game now from YouTube. There's just so many different resources.
Right.
It seems like the mindset is either anyone can get into real estate. No matter what you do, you don't need a bunch of money. You can start investing, do whatever, do your thing.
Absolutely.
And then there's also the other side, which is at times I feel like more realistic, of like, you need cash. Like, if you don't have any capital, how are you going to get into real estate? And I feel like it's easy to like the social media, anyone can get into it. But then when you're someone actually trying to like run a business and invest, I'm like, so how the hell am I gonna do this? Like, and we're talking about pulling in funds and getting a group together and whatnot for a property.
Yeah.
But it's like, realistically, we're thinking about, all right, how much capital do we have to make? But then other people also have the mindset, you don't need anything, just go in. I'm like, I must have to learn that route, because I don't know how that goes.
So yeah, there is a route like that, where basically you just get remember how I told you, like, the passer for the first investor, how that guy, he was kind of like, he put the whole deal together. Yeah. If you go through that route, you can be the guy who puts the whole deal together, right? Not necessarily have to put any money into it, but because you get a cut of the sale of the house or of the building or whatever, you can use your cut and go in on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could be the person who gathers all the people together, and then you look for the place, and then you put together the deal, you put together the plan, you run the numbers, you have it checked, you have it, you're the one who does all the groundwork, and then the money that you make from that, you put it back into the building, and
very smart.
So for someone who's like looking to get into their first property, do you think it's smart to go that route and go like into some sort of group investment because there's less risk involved and whatnot, or just go straight in and buy like a $200,000 apartment building?
Do what works for you. each person is different. Each individual is different. Look at your situation. Be realistic with yourself. You know, ask yourself, okay, like, can I be the guy who, like, am I a very sociable person? Do I know a lot of people? Do I know if people want to come down? You know what? Or are you the guy who are like, okay, I do make a little bit of money and I can afford to put a little bit aside for a couple months and then put that down, you know, and everything. Like, really look at yourself. Look at your situation. Research the different types that there are out there, because like it's constantly a learning experience, right? You know, like from between my first property and my second property, like there's so much that I had to learn. And even now that I'm owning, or that just last week, I learned the thing about taking out equity. You know, there. Like you said, on YouTube, they don't really go into the nitty gritty of these things. You know, just kind of like, you can take equity out, and then like you can,
you need no money at all. They pay you to do it.
They make it seem so easy, but then they don't tell you like the limitations of those options, right?
Yeah.
So try everything, explore everything that you can, like within the realm, and then see what works for you as an individual, and just be honest with yourself. Honestly, be honest with your situation. It's been a very humbling experience. Like I still have so much to learn. You know, like so much to learn.
But you know, one thing that you've really put me on is financial literacy. And I think like a majority of like our society is not financially literate, because there's plenty of people out there with cash, positive equity. They're in a position where they could buy tons of real estate, but they're comfortable. So it's easier for them to just throw their money into an index fund or a 401k, let it sit. You know, they have their house, it's paid off, and they just ride that out.
Right.
But there's just so much money to be made with all these different tips that you've shared with us. 401k loans, using positive equity on whatever assets you have. It doesn't even have to be a house. I'm sure there's other assets that you could have. You take the positive equity, put it into something else. It just, people aren't doing it, and it's strange.
Well, honestly, our economy wouldn't work if everyone was doing it.
That's true.
For example, if I'm the person that owned the place you were first working at, when you were doing that 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I don't want you learning about all this. I want you to be happy to work here. So I'm going to give you some desserts. I'm going to have you some cupcakes when you go.
That's why they don't teach you about it.
I'll be like, we're a team, man. Look out for your teammates. Like, I need you to work like that. So we do need people to, I don't want to say not be financially literate, but people do need to make jobs accessible for people that people will enjoy and be happy with, or it's not going to float. But that's why people are having so much of a hard time hiring people now. Because people don't want to work jobs, and people they're more aware of what's going on. But also, we just sat on our asses for like 2 years straight. They like being in control of their time. It's harder for them to go back to work these jobs. So it's getting tough for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally nothing wrong with working that day-to-day job. I still work my day-to-day job. I don't plan on quitting anytime soon, because like I have so much to learn.
Because they watch you, that's why.
Well, no, I have so much to learn within that given. It's something that I'm genuinely interested in, and it's something that I genuinely enjoy, and I like being in the industry, right? So you don't have to quit your day-to-day job to explore other options and to explore like financial literacy. Like if you have to take pride in your work, and you just do it well. There's nothing wrong with whatever job that you have. Like every single job is needed, as you can see, right? Yeah. You know, people they would talk back to like Starbucks workers, not knowing what they got in their life, not knowing what they got going on. But like you know that person's making your coffee. You know what I mean? Like without you wouldn't be able to do your job properly if you didn't get your morning coffee. You know? We're literally all linked. We're all linked in one way, shape, or form or another. Yeah. Everything that we do is linked to everything, you know, what entire world is doing.
I love that.
You know what I'm saying? Like you post a picture, you know, someone from like Siberia is looking at it.
Right.
Like that inspires them to go do something else. You know what I mean? So we're all linked in a way. So we really have to appreciate each other, and really have to appreciate like the different jobs that different people do.
I love that,
right? Because like if the garbage people weren't picking up the trash every single day, like are you gonna take the trash to the dump yourself?
Yeah,
absolutely not.
That's so true. Even that aspect, there's so many moving parts to everything. Exactly. But I like specifically when you talk about the and I know we've been on for a minute, so we'll wrap it up soon. But I just like what you're saying, man. I like everything you're saying. Like, no, because like especially like, with like workers or like, you know, you at Starbucks. That's one thing that gets me when someone's being rude to a worker like that. Or,
entitled and stuff.
Come on, bro. Like, I don't want to be out with anyone who's rude to the server, rude to the waitress. Like, and that's how you treat people. Like, that's a weird. That shows I feel like your true colors. Like, don't be nice to me, but then you being hella rude to this kid who's just trying to work. Yeah. You don't know what he's on. You should be grateful because people need to work these jobs. Like, and I want to own a coffee shop one day too. I'm a big coffee guy. And like, dude, I'm gonna have to be hiring kids like it's hard to hire people nowadays because
Yeah.
people that are willing to work certain jobs, that are willing to do whatever, and you have to bring some value to them,
Right.
and they have to also be reliable.
Right.
And in certain cities, it's really hard. Something like we go to what's that city called we shot used to in? Ojai. We go to Ojai a lot.
Okay.
Well, my family does.
Okay.
And some of the business owners will say like it's so hard to find people to hire,
Oh.
and I can see it. You know, you probably don't because you're from the
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. Ojai, it's like Palm Springs.
Yes.
Kind of similar, but not nearly as jumping. Mainly old people out there.
Okay.
So it's like, how are you going to find a 17, 18-year-old to work at your business?
You're
Like,
not.
or like a 20-year-old, 21. Why are they still out there? They
Right.
would have already left. They would have gone off to
Gone
school
to
or gone off to found something going. So then you really have to think, what is the pool of people I'm hiring for this job?
Right.
And I understand why it's so hard to find good people. And then you have bad people. Now the reviews are getting killed. And I'm in the rental space. I know how important the reviews are.
No.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know. Hiring people is just hard, but
It
we
is.
do need people that are willing to work.
Absolutely. Like, take pride in your job, no matter what it is, no matter what you do.
I mean, when I was coaching soccer for kids, I took pride in that
I'm
because
sorry for what I said about soccer earlier, by the way. I wouldn't know no soccer players. I
No,
apologize.
you're good. No, like, that's
something that I fell in love with as a kid.
and
Yeah.
so like I want to,
The impact that it made on me as a kid, I want to
Yeah.
have that impact on someone else. I was like,
I love
I took pride in that because I was like, I want the kids to enjoy soccer as much as I did, right? It didn't make me a lot of money or didn't make, but it's something that I actually genuinely enjoy doing. And I wanted to continue doing it, but just the schedule wouldn't allow it, So,
Something that I think about though, like that's sort of related to this topic though, is like grade school, for example. Why don't they teach us anything financially related?
Oh, even like
Taxes,
high
like
school,
basic
they
stuff.
don't
Like
teach you credit.
this is all stuff that you gotta
You're
learn
not
on your
supposed
own.
to know.
Absolutely,
That's the
right.
They have
thing.
17-year-old kids
That's the
taking out
thing.
student loans, not knowing anything
Anything.
about them.
Yep.
Like, you're
Yeah.
doing it probably, for a lot of people, that's the biggest investment.
Yes.
No, not true, because the house is going to be the biggest investment, assuming they get a house. But prior to
Assuming.
that, that's the biggest
Yep.
investment you're taking. And you're like 17, you have no idea. All you know is like, I got into
Yeah.
Yale or wherever.
Yep.
Oh, Yale's pretty good. You're going to get a good job. But
Oh,
I got
yeah.
into wherever. Like, that's
Yep.
definitely true. But you're not supposed to know that, because then people would start thinking different. People would be like, oh yeah, I should definitely go to community college. It makes no
Right.
sense.
Yes.
But instead, it's more like popularity. High school, oh, I got into this college. The
Exactly.
parents are all proud. Like, yeah, we about to invest $60,000, and he's
A
getting his
year.
communications degree.
Right.
$60,000 a year. I
Like-
should start hating on communications. Sociology.
Do gender studies.
Gender studies degree.
Yeah, no, I mean that was one of the mistakes that I made as well, and as a 17-year-old who was just glad to be able to go into college and everything, right?
Yeah.
And that was actually the advice I got was against going to community college, to just go in, do your 4 years and get out.
your
Like just do it
experience,
as soon
man.
as
Get your experience.
Exactly. But like you go through community college, it's cheaper. You
Yeah.
get
a lot of college credits already.
I did
you
that.
go in.
You only have to do 2 years.
But then when you go in, you also get money for going to.
I got paid to go to school.
Right.
Oh.
Why wouldn't you do
Money
that?
moves.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that?
It's about the aesthetic, man. Because people in high school, they're sitting there uncomfortable saying they're going to a JUCO.
It's not.
it's not worth it.
It's not.
Half the friends you make in college, you don't keep them anyway.
Right.
don't.
You
right.
don't.
Those are
Don't.
brothers,
I only left
man.
college with like 4 friends.
So you didn't join
Or
a
like
frat.
like
Wow.
You know what I mean?
like it's like high school 2.0, except it's
Right.
more expensive and it's more intensive. It's
Yeah.
just half the things I learned in college I'm not using.
Right.
You know what I'm like?
Wait,
The-
really?
the-
What was your major?
I was a bio major.
Dude, you were a whole scientist. That doesn't
Yeah,
count.
but-
You
yeah,
can't, you
but
can't
like-
be in that lane.
But like you
Nah,
know, like
because all
most
the
of the
other
things
stuff
you
you
learn as you're working. Like you
Yeah.
learn more as you know what I mean?
Oh, I see
Like
what you're saying.
yeah, like maybe if you did go for further education, it might propel you further.
Yeah.
You really have to look at the situation and you really have to like look at what makes sense for you as an
That makes
individual,
sense.
right? Like if you know that like maybe you didn't have a 4.0 and you're likely not to get scholarships to go into your college like straight out from high
Right.
school, take
The community college route. There's nothing wrong with that.
like all those people like in college, in high school,
You're never gonna see them again. I have like 2
friends from high school.
Yeah.
You're never
gonna see them again.
they're
Like most of the people you meet in college, you're never gonna see them again.
Right.
but what you are gonna deal with is your life for the rest of your life.
Yes,
And the
yes.
Situations that you
Put yourself in for the rest. They're not gonna be there and be like, oh, at least you went to Harvard.
But like yeah, you're like $300,000 in debt.
Yeah, yeah,
But like
yeah.
yeah, man, at least you went to Harvard. That's not worth
You got
anything.
the plaque on
I
the wall.
think-
That's almost
Right.
like
$300,000
Kanye's
plaque.
first album. He kept saying that, but I got. You remember high school or college dropout? He
Yeah.
kept talking about, but I got my I got my degrees, man.
Right?
That's funny.
I think I've only seen my diploma like twice.
Oh man, you gotta have that thing framed.
It's in a backpack somewhere, man. like I don't even look at because it's like you know I don't even think about it.
Did you even need it when you got your job? Did they ask for proof? That's a whole nother thing.
For my first job, they did not ask. None of the jobs I had.
That's what I'm saying.
I've made the argument on the podcast that I truly feel that without the diploma, you can still go to a job and just finesse it. No one's actually checking to see if you went to school. And I just say historically black college, and then they're really not gonna check. I went to Dillard. They're not checking no Dillard records. You know, there's no one they can trace back to Dillard.
I mean, they never. I mean,
dude,
maybe they did check it in like the background. I'm not gonna.
But the background checks only checks for criminal history.
Yeah.
So you're chilling, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, all I know is they're not gonna ask for your GPA. Just do what you can.
Exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, the most knowledgeable class that I had in college was like one of the required courses, but the teacher it was like a financial edition of that course.
Yeah.
Right. And the most important lesson I learned was from that class was to be who you are, because it is your personality that's most likely gonna sell and make money.
Yeah.
And like that's your biggest asset. Your personality, you being the person that you are, no matter what. Like you can't be somebody else. You can, if you like something. Like there are people making money off of like Naruto, like.
Oh yeah, so true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Back in the day when I was growing up, there were people looking at me funky for watching anime.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, oh, you watch anime? That's a little.
There's a demographic for everyone.
That's what I'm saying.
The world
like,
is so big.
like be in your zone. If you know you like something, bro, like
do it.
Love it to the fullest.
Embrace it.
Because that's what's gonna get you far. Like you being the person that you are. You know.
Absolutely.
So don't think about what people are gonna think. Just do what works for you, and just make sure that it makes sense. Really think about it. Like really explore those, and don't be scared to take risks either, because there's a little bit of risk that come with everything. Every situation you find yourself in, there's a little bit of risk, right? But
no risk, no reward, man.
Right. Yeah.
The only way you don't have risk is you just work a job. A job is pretty much the only way.
Even that's risky because they can let you go. Exactly.
You can be replaced like that.
That's what I was also thinking when you
jobs.
talked about the 6 to 6 p.m. Like, you're doing all that grinding, changing your whole life, but if you quit, they're going to have someone there.
They don't care, bro. They don't care about you.
But no, I love everything you're saying, man. I think, honestly, that was a good note to end off on, and that is going to be clipped. You're going to see that clip. You'll be at the post. That was beautiful, man. Now, we appreciate you stopping by to sit down, man. The first episode, bro.
I did not know this was the first episode.
We had another podcast, but this is the first of the BNC podcast, man.
I see. Yeah, thanks for having me. Like, I love talking about this stuff. A lot of like my inspiration came from books, from Graham Stephan on YouTube. I watch a lot of his stuff. Like he just because his creativity. Like when he bought a Tesla for like $78 a month, like way back when, I was like, excuse me. Like,
I remember that video.
You know what I mean? And a lot of books that I read as well. Like there's Think and Grow Rich. How to make friends and be influential with people, and then there's Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I knew you were gonna say. I was about to say. I
feel like Rich Dad Poor Dad is like the holy Bible of getting into like investing, or like the first thing that I feel like everyone mentions that book because it literally changes your perspective, because we are all living poor dad. You know what I mean? And Rich Dad, he's living a life where it's just like.
All right, I'm gonna read the book. I think my pride and like maybe ego has been.
Have to read it, bro.
Okay, so you feel me? Okay, because that's okay. No, you know what it is? Because like I'm already like in it. I'm already in like the thick of things. So when people would bring up that book, I'll be like, man, I don't got time to be reading that shit right now. I gotta manage a business, man. Like
you can listen to it. You know,
you
can listen to it.
But honestly, I want to keep reading like trading books. That's really what I want to keep getting my education on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I'm gonna read it at some point. I'm gonna humble myself and read it, bro. Because people that read it be like, oh no, you're already doing that stuff. But no. I'm Tori just a hater though. He might. But I'm definitely gonna tap in. But either way, man, we appreciate you, bro. This was a good time. We would end up going way longer than we thought to. It was a good flow. I was telling.
Flow was really good. It was healthy.
I was telling him, bro, we just gonna be chopping it up, man. And if your boys the real deal, which you are, it ends up being a great combo.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
And appreciate you answering all our questions too, because we had a lot. That's the difference.
I know this.
It's not just for the viewers. Like we are.
Could have went on for hours.
Yeah, we are selfishly using this time time. To just we're gonna get all the game we can get because we know you know what you're doing, man. We
knowledge is
appreciate it.
key to life. You got to remember that.
Yup.
Absolutely. Seek knowledge. Like, you never know what you're going to be interested in until, like, you read about it or, like, you hear about it or you find out about it. Like, I didn't think I was going to, like, when I first, started thinking about investing, I just thought that, like, oh, maybe trading stocks was, like, enough or, like, whatever. But then, like, the more I read about real estate, the more I'm like, this makes sense.
Everyone owns property. Yep.
And then, like, there are other things that you can invest in, too. Like, if you can afford the cars, like, invest in the cars. Like, the cars they can be assets, but there's a lot of research that needs to take place, and there's a lot of faith that needs to go into it, so there are lots of I'm like Pokemon cards. I got friends trading Pokemon cards.
That's
making
a big
money
bag.
off of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're so, like, if you love something and you think you can make money off of it, try it out.
Yes, sir. I was gonna ask if you had any parting words, but that was perfect.
Yeah.
You're already ahead of it.
That's it from me.
Well,
Talk to your friends. Ask them, what they're into, and talk about it with your friends. You never know. They might be interested in it, and they're willing to do it with you.
yes, sir. Well, that's that, man. We appreciate everyone who viewed this, man. Hopefully everyone got some game. This was probably the most fun for us, I can't lie, to be able to ask all the questions, but hopefully everyone else got the questions answered, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome anytime. Welcome anytime.
Thank you so much.
Let's go. Episode 1 wrapped. Thank you, though, bro. Really, seriously. That was a great time. Dude, you're good.
I'm glad I finally got to meet you. Like,
Yeah.
I've just seen the video.